Next topic, well, before that, it's time to also introduce our next speaker for all of you. In fact, while we're focusing on how tech can actually help you know more or do more to unleash brilliance in a way to market your product for that matter, it's time to break that buzzword AI and what it is. I mean, what exactly? Is it real? Let's find that out from our next speaker, because we have with us someone who drives innovation and development for the acoustics analytics that's set for solutions in general. And I'm talking about IBM, which is now supporting and transitioning to the acoustic marketing cloud. So we have with us the senior product manager with IBM, Mr. Robert Hain, and he's going to join us and share his nuggets of insights. But let's welcome him with a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And let's do that, and let's hear it from Mr. Robert Hain.
Thank you. And from one of the few Americans in the room, thank you for letting me be a guest of your wonderful country. I love it here. So, who's heard of artificial intelligence? Every hand in the room should go up. Who believes in artificial intelligence? Okay, good. We're going to break this down just a little bit to see where we actually are in the marketplace in terms of artificial intelligence and what the words actually mean, and how we can actually begin to use those words in a more useful way, more productive way. So, does this come to mind when we think of artificial intelligence, the old robot movie that was way before my time, or perhaps a little bit later, the movie HAL, where in Space Odyssey, I believe it was, or maybe even moving a little bit later, artificial intelligence in terms of another movie. Or maybe not artificial intelligence that's quite so negative, maybe this guy, right? So, all examples of how popular culture has trained us to think about artificial intelligence. But is this really what we want, and is this really where we're going? One a little bit later, let's go on. So, a little bit about the timeline. How did we get where we are today, and how did the buzzword artificial intelligence become so popular today? In the early 60s, there was a program called ELIZA. That was the first attempt to actually begin to interact with the machine in a conversational way. It was very simple, and you would come to the end of its functionality very quickly. But then in the 90s, there was a groundbreaking competition between IBM's Deep Blue and Kasparov, who was the world chess champion at the time. Now, was that artificial intelligence? It depends on how you define the terms. What actually it did was it just simply looked many moves ahead from where Kasparov could look. If you know about chess, that you want to look as many moves ahead of where your opponent is, and the further ahead that you can look, the more you can strategize how to make your next move. So actually the computer was just simply doing exactly what Kasparov was doing, but it was doing it much faster, and it was doing it much deeper than Kasparov could. 2011, the American game show Jeopardy! This was the first time where a machine actually competed on a live game show in a very large scale. What was the machine actually doing? It was parsing languages. It was taking words and phrases and concepts, and it was turning those into references that it could take back to its database and then return an answer. So again, it was a model or a group of models that were put together to perform a specific task. That specific task being, number one, understand the question. Number two, find an answer, or a set of answers. And number three, find the best fit answer for that solution. What are some of the things we hear from our customers about artificial intelligence? And some some of the reactions we get from our customers. As Acoustic, formerly of IBM, as Acoustic Marketing Cloud, this is one of them. Can anyone in the room relate with this? I don't want machines taking over how I relate to my customers. Another one would be, is this real? Are we just putting a marketing cover on something that doesn't really exist? We hear this one a lot. Anyone in the room? Yep, okay. Another one, it's intelligence. You know, intelligence really can never be real. It's like the unattainable goal. Anyone? Okay. And then finally, there are some, I really believe it. I think it's really out there, and I think I can put it to work in my business today. Anyone actually using artificial intelligence models today? Okay, one or two. We should connect over lunch and see what you're actually doing. Good. The founder of IBM several years ago actually said this: our machines should be nothing more than tools for extending the powers of we human beings who are using them. So the concept being, I am a marketer. I am an analyst, and I perform certain tasks over and over again. And I should have machines that enable me to extend my reach. I know that my team will only get so large. And so I should be able to use a machine not to replace me, but to extend the work that I'm able to do. That was his driving perspective, and really it's our driving perspective today as well. There are the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT, one of the top technology universities in the United States. There's equivalent research happening here in India. There's also good research happening in Ukraine and other places, but the results are very similar. So it's telling to say, where are the researchers spending their time today? What are they working on? Automated knitting. Okay, I like knit clothes as much as anyone else, but really, automated knitting, that is one of the top areas of research. Automated robotic parts, medical decision making. Do we do this or that or the other? Human versus machine response times. Understanding how we can, again, perform a task. When it comes to driving, how a machine can begin to take over the task of driving, and what can we gain in terms of safety and productivity by allowing a machine to take over some of that task. Some of the phrases they use are things like learning task, framework, transforming examples, loss functions, decoder encoder map. So when we bring this all together, what does it really tell us? It tells us the research is still focused on tasks, discrete individual things that we, as marketers, as analysts, need to accomplish, and making those tasks as efficient as possible. At Cornell Tech, another, again, this is American universities, because those are the ones I'm most familiar with. But again, there's worldwide research on this that is saying very similar things. And I'll just read this. Despite evocative terms, evocative names like artificial intelligence, machine learning, neural networks, they really have little to do with actual human thought or intelligence. Instead, it's alternative ways of programming computers. They're constructing them to perform discrete tasks. And how do they do this? They train them using models to perform challenging tasks based on humans who are actually performing that task. What does that look like in terms of people in this room? Maybe I'm a marketing analyst, and my job is to select audiences, or my job is to optimize creative, or perhaps my job is to optimize my spend. Those are all individual tasks. So the job of AI, artificial intelligence, is to maximize my productivity in each one of those tasks. So I would actually challenge us to think about AI a little bit differently. That's why I titled the session, There's Nothing Artificial. If we think about AI in a little bit different way, we can actually begin to deconstruct some of the marketing hype that's around it and actually put it to use for our business and help everyone in this room to begin choosing our solutions a little bit better. So number one, it's assistive. What do I mean by that? Well, in terms of marketing exploration, a lot of times we're doing things like segmentation. I'm looking at audiences and I'm drilling them down and I'm dividing people into different groups based on different dimensions. Psychographics, how I think, or demographics, where do I fit into society, or my societal preferences, or my device types I use. I don't have enough time to do that enough to find all the insights that I could possibly find. Assistive intelligence is iteration at scale. Suddenly, I can do those exercises over and over and over again at a much greater pace, and I can begin to explore much more widely than I ever could before. Because no matter how many resources I have on my team, my organization is not going to hire more of me to do that task, to spend untold numbers of hours finding nothing to find the one small gem of insight that is going to finally make the company significantly more successful. So instead, we're taking me and we're multiplying me in terms of doing a task. So that's one, that's assistive intelligence. But what about augmented intelligence? That's where instead we're taking not just one task that I do, but we're expanding my scope into the world. Because, again, my management is not going to bring in me plus 2 or 3 data scientists, plus a few segmentation specialists, and on and on and on. They're going to expect me to perform at a higher level. So can I take multiple data sets, a variety of skill sets, and bring them into my workspace as well? So assistive intelligence, augmented intelligence, and then making the connections between the data that I simply either do not have the time or perhaps don't yet have the skill to do all by myself. So what do we do with this information? If this truly is where the marketplace is going, and as the researchers continue to move forward, IBM with Watson, Google with their solution, and fill in the blank with whatever AI solution you want, as we continue this research into neural networks, deep learning, machine learning, and so forth, what do we do in the meantime? Well, we make use of what we have already done. We've already accomplished a significant amount of productivity gains with these small task models. And when you bring these small task models together, they begin to look more and more like that AI marketing hype that we talked about. So detecting struggle in my customer experience, looking at anomalies in performance data, exploring my segments deeper and deeper and deeper, helping me to determine the sentiment of the message I'm sending, and maximizing how I can use it, and so on and so forth. So, putting this to use in our decision making, we have to begin to ask the tough questions, to begin to dig below the marketing hype for artificial intelligence. Ask the questions, what is it that your model actually does for me? And what have your customers seen in terms of return on investment when they invest with you in your your automated intelligence, your artificial intelligence solution. I know that at Acoustic, we can give you those numbers. We can tell you customers like you have seen 243% or whatever the return on investment on a particular technology. If you're not able to get that answer from the market, from the vendor, perhaps you need to expand the number of vendors you talk to. Make no assumptions. It's very easy for us to, especially here with technology we don't necessarily fully grasp, it's easy to draw lines that don't exist. We draw a line from the Jeopardy game show or the Kasparov winning over Kasparov in chess to the computer is going to take over my marketing and I'm not going to have to touch it. Even though the vendor doesn't say that to us, we are often tempted to make those connections ourselves. We make no assumptions. Stay close to what's happening in the marketplace. As I mentioned, look at what the researchers are doing and saying, because that will tell us what's ahead of us. If they're still talking about tasks and automating those tasks and making them efficient, then that tells us that's where we're still going. And that's how the market is going to shape in the near future. And then constantly ask, what am I going to do with this? This looks really good, this type of solution. But how is it going to help me from day to day? How is it going to take what I do and help me drive more money to my bottom line? So, any questions?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We'll open the floor for questions. Any questions from the audience? Please raise your hands and we'll have the mics passed on. All right, we have a question there.
Hi. I wanted to understand what percentage of money should small businesses give in for hiring AI services. Like small businesses, how much percentage of money from their entire revenue spend they should
I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Thank you for the question. It varies widely. So it's usually the enterprise companies who explore with AI much more because they just simply tend to have more of the budget. The smaller companies, at least in the United States, wait around for the larger companies to adopt. However, we're beginning to see a shift where as vendors, as Acoustic and the other vendors, as we begin to make that more accessible, then we make it part of the standard product, and then it just becomes part of what they already spend with us. What else?
So it's just a thought. I'm just thinking out aloud in form of a question, because this is a pretty intriguing thing. But as an advertiser,
Yep.
who kind of deals with programmatic platforms on a daily basis, there seems to be this kind of black box.
Yes.
Okay, where all the AI and the magic and the stardust things happen. Now, has AI become a buzzword for mimicking top minds sitting in great companies like IBM? Has it led to the loss of some amount of diversity in the kinds of thinking that people do? That, hey, you know what? These are the best minds who have kind of created this intelligence, so to speak, by design, and here's what you're going to use. So
Right.
then those become your platforms. So, so do you see a sort of heightening of intelligence on one side and the dumbing down of users on the other side? How do you see it? I know it's all
Right.
over the place, but if you can.
That's a very, very good question, and that's one of the key points I wanted to make is the marketing for AI. That here we are at a marketing conference, and the marketing to us tells us that yes, The machine is going to make all kinds of decisions for you, and could that lead to a dumbing down? Or suddenly I don't need as much expertise? Our answer at IBM and our answer as we move into acoustic is absolutely not. We're still tied to what the founder of IBM said. We want the machine to not replace, but augment what I do. So again, certain tasks that I don't have time to do, deep exploration that just simply take many more of my cycles, or if I need a small amount of data science plus a small amount of segmentation technology, and I don't have those practitioners on my team, let's bring that into the tool set so I can be more productive. Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay.
Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen? All right then, with that, let's have a round of applause to thank our speaker, Mr. Robert Hain. Thank you very much, Robert.